Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda. And today we are going to have a very interesting conversation about quantum energy transformation. Our guest today is named Joshua Bloom, and Joshua has a website called beingness.com. And in the conversation today, you will learn about energy transformation within the quantum field. He also mentions what his experience has been with Reiki. He talks about learning Reiki, practicing Reiki, and then coming to the understanding of being Reiki, which, we've discussed on the podcast before. So it is a very interesting conversation, and he gives a lot of his work is focused towards empaths, healers, and intuitives, and he wants to help healers, empaths, and intuitives really learn how to harness their innate quantum powers. So if you've ever been curious about this quantum field and working with this quantum energy, then you are going to enjoy this episode. You can learn more again at beingquantum.com. He also has authored a book, and it started out as a movie, actually. So it's called The Ultimate Answer is Inside. And you can learn more about that on his website as well. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Joshua Bloom, and I will see you, beautiful alchemist, on the other side. Okay, everyone, welcome to today's episode on Reiki Radio. We have the amazing Joshua Bloom, who's going to talk to us about how to enter transformation mode and quantum energy transformation. So, Joshua, first of all, thank you for taking the time for coming to talk to us today.
Yolanda, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. We're going to have so much fun.
Yes, we are going to have a lot of fun. And as I was telling you before we started, I was really looking forward to finally having a conversation on the show about quantum energy healing, the quantum field, how all of this works and ties in, which a lot of us don't necessarily hear about. So I wanted to ask you first and foremost, what brought you into awareness of the quantum field, and how did you even start in this realm of work?
Well, I think it kind of found me.
Yeah.
I fell apart like many years ago, and it was a very difficult experience for me because I started to feel anxious. And when I say anxious, I don't mean, oh, I felt a little scared. It wasn't that. I was freaking out with fear. And I thought that the fear was so large that it literally was going to kill me. That's how scary it was for me. And there were times in my life a long time ago when, just getting out of the house and being outside was hard to do, or walking around the block was like a great day.
Right.
There were days I wasn't even functional, and going outside was not something I was going to do. Today, my life has completely changed, and I live very differently. But how I got there was I actually went for help at a hypnosis center. And at that hypnosis center, I thought maybe they could help me. At this point, I had studied so much. I was already a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming. I knew a lot about hypnosis, and neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis go hand in hand. I knew a lot of that stuff too. So I figured maybe something in that area could help me. So after one session, I realized, no, this isn't it. This isn't going to do it. And I felt like I knew more than they did. So I needed somebody who was going to know more than I did to be able to get me where I needed to be. Little did I know that that person was going to be me, finding that solution, not somebody else. But it was definitely an interesting journey. So then I said to the center, the lady that owned the center, I said, "How about I help you?" And she thought that was a great idea. So I started to work at the center, and eventually I managed the center and ran the center, and I did all the sessions for people. And boy, did I do sessions. I did session after session after session after session. It was pretty amazing because I was getting these results that I was surprised I was getting. I didn't know what was happening, but people would come in with anxiety, depression, pain, migraine headaches, fibromyalgia, all sorts of things. And then they would lose their problem. Their problem would just kind of melt away.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, well, why isn't my anxiety melting away? You know,
Right.
when is it going to be my turn? So that was the issue there, is that I was really, really good at helping other people get what they needed and getting their results, but I wasn't all that great at getting my own at the
Right.
time anyway. And you know, it's kind of deflating to go home with your problem and then at the same time seeing all these people have these great results.
Yeah.
I was getting testimonials in the book, because they have a testimonial book there, every week, sometimes every day. Other people that were there that were also hypnotherapists, they were getting results. You know, maybe they get something in the book once a month. They were like, what is Joshua doing? So when I started to help her, I started to use my understanding of quantum physics and my understanding of energy work. And I fused them together in a way where I could use all of what I've learned to create change. And because I didn't have any rules about it or any protocols that I had to stick to, I magically found how to get results for my clients. And it changed my life. Soon after that, I opened up my own center. And then I still didn't really fix my own problem by then, by the way, but I was
Yeah.
in a better place than I was. Okay. So the things did get better, but they weren't where I needed to be. And then I learned to transform my own issues. I learned that I was my most difficult client and I needed to really discover for myself what was going to release my anxiety. And what I learned was that when I connected with myself to sense the energy like I do with my clients, that's when it all changed. When I kind of treated myself like a client, that's when I was able to make the changes much more quickly and much more impressively, where I was starting to live a normal life. I no longer had issues where I wasn't, doing well that day. I was like doing really great. So things really have made a big change. And so how I got to where I am basically was through releasing the energy at the cellular level of the body to create dynamic change. And it worked. And I got my life back.
That's amazing, Joshua. And there's a couple of things in your story that really stick out. One, I love that you didn't stay too rigid with what it is that you will learn. And because I think that's where we learn the most, where we allow ourselves to take the foundation of what we learn, but then also trust our own inspiration and follow that. So I love that, because I think a lot of people, a lot of us, we get stuck in the rigidity of wanting to do things right, that we
Yes,
often limit possibility and potential. Yeah, so that's beautiful that
agreed.
you say that. And I want to go deeper into quantum energy transformation, because still, even though, you've mentioned healing on a cellular level, and there may have been some hypnotherapy and NLP included in this, I want to just back up and ask you, was this anxiety that you were experiencing, was it something that your whole life, or it just came out of nowhere? And now
Yeah.
hindsight, was it related to anything in particular?
So it did come out of nowhere.
Hmm.
It started like in my early 20s, but it was very seldom. Like once in a while I'd
Mm,
have an anxiety attack, and then it would just disappear and wouldn't come back.
right,
But then it kept coming, and then I hit the tipping point. And once that happened, I was more anxious than not. That
right,
sort of
right.
was a thing. And I didn't understand what was happening to me. But a part of what I was dealing with, unfortunately, was entities. I didn't
Mm,
know that I had them, and
yeah.
I didn't know how to deal with the experience of when you can't see what's, kind of attacking you,
Yep.
and you don't know what to do about it. um, you think I mean, I just thought I was an anxious person. I realize now that what started the problem was entities in the first place. Because what would happen to me would be I would be totally fine, everything's great, and all of a sudden, boom, I would just be anxious. No reason.
Right.
Nothing in my environment changed. I just started to be anxious. And that's how I realized later when a friend of mine, like 10, 12 years later, she told me I had entities. And I'm like, no, that's movie kind of stuff. Don't talk to me about that. That's crazy talk. And no, she says, really, you do. And I'm like, all right, well, then you can clear them. I mean, what am I going to say? So at
Mhm.
this point in my life, I did not believe that this could possibly be an entity related to anything. But then when she cleared them, I noticed that there was totally a difference in me.
Right.
And
Well,
I
that
said,
makes
oh,
sense of why you would have been able to help everyone else, but we're having such a hard time with helping yourself. That would have
yes.
definitely been a challenge. Yeah.
So it was life altering to realize that I could release those entities, and
Right.
so I learned how to deal with entities to a really high level
Yes.
after that, because obviously I needed to learn more about it so that I could keep myself good. I mean, her
Yeah.
releasing that for me, one time isn't the answer. So, but it was definitely very helpful and an eye opening. An awakening for me. So I learned how to clear them very well. I'm extremely good at clearing them. And
Yeah.
now today I live my life where I don't have the entity issue anymore. It's just gone.
Yeah.
Now I help other people who don't realize that they have entities and in the same situation as I was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to ask you because I had some encounters with witnessing that in others when I started energy work, and of course, it was nothing that I learned in class, and so I was like, "What is this?" It was a definitely a interesting way to learn about that. But
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this because I think it'll be very helpful for a lot of people listening as well, and then seeing how this ties into the whole quantum transformation. Could you talk a bit about the importance then of being present in our own bodies and how important it is to have an awareness of ourself and how our own self management comes into play? Because I imagine that must be a huge part of your work.
You mean about keeping ourselves good all the time?
Yeah, well, having an awareness of self first and foremost, because a lot of times we're so focused on the external that
Yeah.
we wouldn't even realize, even if we had entities or we were just off or we were just, I don't know,
Right.
whatever could be going on.
Well, that's an interesting discussion because, I read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now,
Okay.
and I learned that he was telling at me that, you need to be present.
Mhm.
And boy, did I agree with that. I was like, yeah, I need to be present. So how do you do that?
Mhm.
The problem, the problem was he didn't exactly tell me how to be present.
Uh,
So that was the problem. At least I didn't get it in the book. And
yeah.
so I was, I talked to my spiritual counselor at the time. I was working with a spiritual counselor many years ago, and I said, he doesn't say how to do it. So how do you do it? And my spiritual counselor laughed at me and said, yeah, isn't that interesting? He doesn't say that. And so I was like, but I would really like to know. I would really like to know how. How can I be present? So it wasn't until I started to learn more about the quantum understanding
Mm.
and Dr. Bruce Lipton, who said, if you're in growth, you can heal. And if you're in protection, you can't heal. Well, that changed my life
Yeah.
because I went to everything and everyone to fix myself.
Right. Right.
I learned everything that there could be to learn to fix myself, and it didn't work. And I realized that Dr. Bruce Lipton told me the answer, and I heard it. And I realized if you're not, if you're not in growth, you can't heal. So, what is growth? Growth is the experience where all of your cells are working perfectly in your body. Your entire energy system is in alignment and it's doing great. Also, your whole body system is doing well. Mind, body, spirit, right? Everything is doing
Okay.
well. When you're in growth. So, what is protection? Protection is when you're in a slight or a large experience of fight or flight.
Mm.
And that's what happened. I was always in fight or flight. There was almost never a time that I was present. And so then I realized I had to learn how to be present. So I then learned what being present was. Being present is being in your body. And I was like, well, what is being in your body mean? What does it mean to be out of my body? What does it mean to be in my body? And I didn't know this, but there is our higher self. And either it's in here, inside of you, or it's floating up above your head because it's saying this frequency is too low. I'm out of here. I'm on vacation. Let me know when you're back to a good place and I'll come back.
Right.
So your higher self is actually above your head and not in your body. And I learned to pull it in and bring it into my body so that instead of my higher self being up here, it was now inside of me. And when you're connected and you're inside your body, that's when you become present, fully present. And then I realized, well, the access point to the quantum field is actually at the base of your spine, the tailbone. So I put that together. I said, well, when you're in your body, the invitation to get there is to put your attention at the base of your spine. So I would put my attention at the base of my spine and realized I could then bring my higher self in, and then I could be fully present. And when I felt that for the first time, it was amazing because I realized who I was. Now, the thing is, a lot of people don't know who they are. And they can't know who they are because we think who we are is a thought, but it's not. It's a feeling. So when you get into that feeling of being present, you start to discover your true you, your true self. And I started to feel that and start to experience this is who I am. The me that is inside my body, the me that is strong, not the anxiety me, this
Right.
me. Right? So it was really amazing to understand that. So I started teaching people how to get into their body and how to be present because, this information really isn't out there in the way that I'm teaching it. You've got to bring your higher self back into your body, be present, keep your attention low in your body, and then you'll be able to connect with yourself, with others. And if you're feeling anxiety or depression, those things start to fade away because you're connected. And that's what I was doing with my clients. I was working with them to get them fully present and into growth. And then I knew that whatever we do after that, the body is going to process the energy at the cellular level of the body in waves. And that's how quantum works. It works in waves of energy. So we actually move energy in waves through the cellular structure of the body to release trauma, to release the lower energy frequencies, to shift something that's not really well in the body to something that could now be healthy. And that's how
Yeah.
we do it.
That is beautiful, Joshua. It's funny. I was just sharing with a group that I work with just a couple of days ago. I was like, the other night I had a great day. I just went for a drive and, it was just feeling good to be outside. But
Right?
at that evening, I came home and I wasn't doing much of anything, but it just felt good to just be in body. And I had this realization of like, wow, this is true nature. It's not necessarily all the bells and whistles that we think it may be or has to be, but just this expression of being outside of fear, doubt, worry, stress, noise, this, da, 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 just in this like purified clarity of just presence in the body. So you remind me so much of that. And that's really beautiful. So it sounds like then this way of helping people to not just be connected, this is where the real work happens, right? So I want, if you don't mind, to share a little bit with everyone listening how shift does happen within the quantum field.
Well, first of all, it's really, really important to understand where I came from with that.
Okay.
I was in a place at one time in my life where I wasn't functioning.
Right.
There are lots of people out there that are in a similar place where, going outside for a few minutes is like a win. So when somebody is in that place, it can't be hard. It has to be simple. No one's willing to do 25 steps or a protocol that's going to take an hour and a half just to get the result. they're not going to have it within them at this point to be able to do that, to get better. So everything that I do is simple. Everything that I do is safe. And that's really important because I needed to make sure for myself that what I do is safe and also simple, but it's just a necessity. If you're dealing with so much stuff, your transformation can't be something that's too big of a hurdle to get over in order to reach it. It has to be something easy. So everything that I do is easy, and almost ridiculously easy. That people say, that can really do that. It's like it makes you question. Really? All you did was that, and boof, it changed? Yes, because we can keep it simple, but we can make it profound. So that's very
Great.
powerful. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Keep it simple. And I think that's where a lot of us too, and I'm sure maybe this was your experience as well, is we do find the more again that we try to be right and we complicate things that are so simple. And so we go through all of these loops and trying to force and figure out just to come to the simplicity of it all. But I'm sure that's a great thing for people to hear because one, quite honestly, a lot of us don't have much patience nowadays. But especially given what we've all gone through collectively recently, I think people are happy to hear that there's something that can have a more immediate effect rather than, dragging things out a bit. So, with all of this, you have created this system and you even have a book called The Ultimate Answer is Inside.
Yes.
And the beautiful Dr. Bruce Lipton that you mentioned wrote the foreword of the book. So, could you tell us then what inspired the book, who it's for, and do we learn your process in the book? What is it about?
Well, yes. So the book was inspired by the movie that came out first called The Ultimate Answer is Inside. And I decided, just had this crazy idea that I would make a movie. It was the time when The Secret was out and what the bleep movies were out and stuff. So I was really like, I need to make a movie. So I started filming and I got some really amazing players in my field like Donna Eden and Bruce Lipton and Bernie Siegel and James Oshman and all these people in the quantum science area. And I got them to interview with me to tell me what they do to really transform people's lives.
Mhm.
And we were all saying the same thing, but we're saying it from our own perspectives.
Yeah.
And it was a really earth-shattering movie. I used that movie to share my story, to share my process, and it did very, very well. It came out, I think it was in 2010, and it really hit in 2011. And then recently, I took the movie and said, well, let's make it a book, you know, so that I made it a #1 best-selling book. And Bruce Lipton was so kind; he wrote the foreword for me. So that was like, whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
it
Well,
was it was life
can I
altering
ask
for me.
where
Yeah.
can we watch it? If people listening want to watch like I would love to watch it tonight. Is where can I where can I watch?
You can go to beingquantum.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Beingquantum.com. And of course, I'll put the link for that in the show description as well. So I have to ask you this. This question is coming to mind because I think a lot of people, once we come into this realm of, the umbrella of what we call spirituality, there is a lot of encounter with the unseen. And we
Mm.
start to become more consciously aware of energy and maybe feeling it in a more palpable way, becoming just, you know, more curious about even what we may be sensing and feeling. But a lot of times it seems that people identify that as outside of them. And
Mm.
I want to know if you can kind of help us understand, like, even the idea of a quantum field and the nature of the unseen, how we're not separate from that, and how that ties into our ability to manipulate or manage that as it comes to us personally.
Well, I love that. I love that because I think that the way that we see the world
Mhm.
is when we look outside of our eyes, that's outside of us.
Right.
And when we look inside, that means we have to close our eyes and go into meditation, and and then we're seeing inside, right? That's how we perceive it. But it isn't
Right.
really like that. I like this metaphor of this. If you were to take your auric field, so can you feel your auric field all around you?
Yes.
And could you just expand it to fill the room? Just imagine if you could fill the room in front of you, all the way to the wall, and back of you, all the way to the wall, to the right and left of you, all the way to the walls. And just feel your aura expand and just enlarge to fill the room. It feels pretty good, right?
Yes.
And then, if you could imagine even further than that, that you could expand bigger than the building or house that you're in,
Mhm.
and just expand to be bigger than that so that your aura is now around the house or the building. Doesn't matter how big it is, just make it bigger. Now, open up to as big as a town or city that you're in. And just open up your aura bigger and bigger there. Just make it go bigger. Good. Just taking a deep breath and let it out. And now expand it to your country, whatever country you're in. Just open your aura around the country that you're in. Okay, it's getting bigger. Let's make it even bigger than that. Could you make it bigger so that it's like the world? Just open your aura so that your aura is around the world that we live in. And remember to breathe. For some people, this is like a stretch here, but just bear with me and just keep opening up your aura to fill the whole world. Wow. Now open up your aura to fill the universe as if your aura could be infinite, infinitely as large as the universe or larger. Yes. So doesn't that feel like you have a lot more space? In quantum, space is required. Without space, there's no room for energy movement because it's all tightened like that, right? So it has to be open. But here's the thing. Now that everything is open and your auric field is as large or larger than the universe, everything is now within you. Nothing is outside of you. So in this case, there's no need to channel, for example, bring down information. It's all within you. Why do you need to go anywhere? It's all right here. Everything is right here. And that's the perspective that I live by with quantum energy transformation, to understand that everything is right here, and it's easier to manage it with that perspective. If it's outside, then we separate ourselves from it, and it becomes a very difficult experience to deal with those things, because then we look at it as a separateness that we don't need to be adding to the situation. And then, of course, when we open up to the whole universe, we can raise it. It also raises our energy frequency, by the way. So your frequency is the determiner that allows you to know what you're going to be dealing with. So the higher your frequency, the less negative things you'll deal with. The lower your frequency, the more negative things you'll deal with. So when we lift our energy frequency extremely, extremely high, we tend to live much easier and have life go our way. And we kind of fall into that pocket where things just happen for us and we don't even have to try. And that's what we're looking for.
That's gorgeous. Okay, so what I love about what you're saying, Joshua, is it reminds me of the whole idea of bringing our awareness to what is, right? So, like the quantum field is already here. I mean, us being separate from no thing, it already is, but it's that trick of bringing our awareness to it. But I love that exercise that you shared with us because it gives people the experience of what is. And I think that's the big thing for people. We can say anything, but until we have the direct experience, then it really starts clicking. And I think we open our minds even more to the possibility. So here's what I'm wondering, because you did mention just how this opens up for us all, and this way that we can attune then to higher frequency through this awareness. who is this for? So, like the quantum energy transformation, technically, yes, I would think it's for everyone. But a lot of times people wonder if, like, oh, is this just if I'm having a hard time? Is this just if I'm having anxiety? Could you talk a little bit about just the overall benefit of living this way and how it can support us just in our day to day?
I love that you said living this way because it is a way of being. It's really not about doing, but it's about being in this wonderful place of the quantum field and having that beautiful connection. So
Yeah.
that's really where it's at. So this is for people who are empathic, intuitive, or energy workers who really want to open up to new possibilities, be able to do things much faster, be able to create change within themselves and others like they've never have before in their life, and have it be easy. Because a long time ago, I was done with the difficult stuff. I learned so many things. Not everything was so easy. I'm like, why does this have to be so hard? So, so let's make it easy. I even created my own Reiki modality called Being Reiki,
Ah.
which is all about getting into the beingness of Reiki.
Mhm.
And it was an amazing experience. What had happened actually was that I was teaching at the Edgar Cayce Center in Manhattan,
Mm.
and I was teaching two classes. One was a quantum class, and the other one was a Reiki class. They had asked me to be their Reiki master, so I became the Reiki master, and I started to teach Reiki. It just so happened that people took both classes, so they were in the Reiki class and they were in the quantum class. And one of my students called me out,
Mhm.
which was kind of uncomfortable to be honest. But she changed my life to be honest also. So what happened was, she said, Joshua, when we're in the quantum class, everything just happens so quickly and easily and fast, and it's just like wow, it's like done. But then when we're in the Reiki class, you don't say that. you 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 tell us how we can do it, but it just takes a long time, and we're frustrated about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was a we. I didn't know they were talking about it. And I'm like, oh, so she asked me, can't we make the Reiki work as fast as the quantum does? Well, I said, I think that we can. I'd be open to the possibility that it can, because I'm a Reiki master in two different lineages, and also I do this quantum thing, and Reiki is amazing. Reiki can be such an amazing experience, and at the same time, I was noticing that it wasn't producing the results I would like to see, and other people were sharing that same thing with me. So I decided that I would do this under one condition, that everybody wants to do this, right? So I said, you all came to learn traditional Reiki. That's what you asked me to do. That's what I came here to teach. But if you would like me to change my curriculum, you all have to at least agree. Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and teach something and have someone be, well, that's not what I paid for, right? So I wanted to make sure everybody was in alignment, and everybody was like, yes, let's do it. So that was the beginning parts of Being Reiki. So I taught everyone how to get into an energy of beingness, which I call being quantum. Then we took that energy that we used for ourselves and we made it useful for others. And so then we were able to do things like do a 30-second energy experience that would be so powerful. It would be as powerful as doing a 45-minute or an hour and a half session on a massage table, but we could do it in
Mm.
30 seconds.
Wow.
So we were playing with this quantum idea, like, okay, so how can we incorporate the quantum with the Reiki and utilize that beautiful energy? And then of course we brought in the Ascended Masters, and we did all sorts of things that really helped us bring in the energy. And it was life altering, and that was the development of Being Reiki. So it was just amazing how we can change things. We can change things. We don't have to be so stuck with the rules. We can open up the possibilities and see what happens. And I love that student who kind of called me out. And
Yeah.
I was, imagine me sitting in the class and someone saying, "Hey, Joshua, this is what you're doing." I'm like, I feel like you're all looking at me.
Yeah.
I feel like I just did something wrong. And at the same time, it was really opening me up to new possibilities because I didn't even consider that. I said, well, I was enjoying the Reiki. Everybody was learning the Reiki, and Reiki was giving us some results, and it was doing well, but they wanted more. And I was like, okay, well, I want more right with you. So we,
Yeah,
we
no, it reminds me of what we said in the beginning of like, it's great that you weren't rigid in mind, which leaves
exactly.
room for the possibility and potential. And the thing about Reiki is it is so interesting that at some point you do get to realizing that it is an expression in being,
Yes.
although up front, no. In like an initial class, no, because you are gonna be more focused on technique and this and that, and that's where a lot of people, like I said, we can get really caught up in the, "Am I doing it right? Am I this? Am I that?" And that misdirection of mind, we completely miss out on what is and then what is happening. So it seems like when you're talking, I'm thinking of, remember there was a show called Quantum Leap? I never
Yes.
watched it, but that was the name of the show. So it
Yep.
sounds like you're taking like this quantum leap for people
Yes.
instead of having years of practice that may get you to the same understanding. You're just closing the gap. Like, listen, we're going to go right in, and from the beginning, you're going to see how this is about being an expression rather than getting so caught up in, yeah, the
I
minutia.
have goosebumps as you're saying this because it's
Yeah.
so true. It's so true. The funniest thing was in the same class there was a man that was a Reiki master already in three different lineages. He had
Mhm.
three different Reiki teachers, and I
Right.
was his fourth. And so I guess he kept searching, for things. So we just started this being Reiki thing, and I was wanting to see, would the being Reiki work if there was no attunement happening?
Mhm.
And I was curious about that. So I took a student who was never attuned in Reiki because she was not. We didn't do any attunements at this point in my training with them.
Yeah.
So so she came in early to work with me because I wanted to experiment with her because I did it with myself. I wanted to try it with a student and see if she could do it.
Mhm.
So I brought her into being quantum, into this really great energy, and I asked her to hold this energy in a specific way, and she was emitting this beautiful energy from every cell of her body. It was like so amazing. And in comes this guy who is now who's now in the fourth, master training,
Yeah.
right? And he walks in and he said, "I want to learn how to do that." and I said, like I was like, "Oh my God, isn't that funny?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that's what we're going to be learning today." And he's like, "Oh, great." He says, "I've taken four different, classes. When you take Reiki, you take them in levels. So we went
Yes.
level 1, level 2, level 3, and master, right? So we is doing that again for the fourth time with me, and he finally learns that he can use his entire body to create Reiki energy in a way that emits such an energy that it's not only healing but transformative, and it not only helps the person that's in that energy experience, but it can help others as well. It's just so powerful, and it,
Yeah.
it, it was life altering.
Well, that's the thing again, I think is so fascinating because like with attunements, of course, like you're directing your mind and there's like this intentionality of what you're doing in the process. Okay, fine. But then, I mean, it comes to, and it reminds me again of this whole discussion you're having about like within the quantum field, no matter what frequency we hold, we can't help but be influential energetically, no matter what frequency we hold, right? So it's like
Right.
even talking to you right now, you have this beautiful energy, your voice, all of the things. And if I, prior to talking to you, I mean, I felt fine, but let's say I didn't. If I didn't feel that great, now being in an encounter with you, I'm going to feel fantastic. And so it is one of those things, too, I think is amazing in this work is having that realization of not only that we can manage and manipulate our energy. But the way that it isn't just localized to us, like literally everything that we encounter is energy. So everything is going to be able to shift and change and, be felt, be present. But it made me think of what you're saying, in that even though you didn't do a technical attunement on this, how could she have not been impacted by the energetic resonance that you were building anyway? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, this is
Exactly.
fascinating. I'm glad we're having this
I
conversation.
know. And what you said was about the beingness we were talking about, right? So I just love what you said, because it goes to, it's not about what you do, but it's so much more about who you be when you do what you do.
Yes.
So when you get into the beingness of it, the power that you can have with one person is amazing. But my goal is to impact my students with this powerful ability to have high frequency, be at this beautiful energy that I'm at all the time now.
Yes.
And then they become the experience, the expression. And it's a sort of like, it's like that hair commercial, and so on and so on. Where, the idea where they're going to impact someone, and then the people that they work with, they're going to impact someone, and then everybody will be impacted by the understanding that we are energy. And then when we are in the beingness of in the beingness in the quantum field and connected to all there is, life
Yeah.
can life can change in ways you never even thought possible.
Amazing. So I just want to remind everyone again, and I'm going to put the links below anyway, but we can watch the movie, which I plan to do tonight, and we can read the book. The Ultimate Answer is inside, and we can go to beingquantum.com to be able to access this information. So if you want to go deeper, just know the link will be in the description. But I have to ask you before we go, because Joshua, look at how fast the time has gone. Like we're almost I have to ask you about the pendants that you're wearing. So anyone watching the video, you can see that he has on these amazing pendants. Could you tell us what they are about and how they relate to the work?
Yes, well, I moved to New Jersey. So I was living in New York for a while, and I moved to New Jersey, and I started to have some of the same issues that I had a long time ago with the entities, because I guess they're just a lot more in my area. And so as an empath, entities just it's sort of like my mom with flies. You know, it doesn't matter what season it is. She goes outside, she gets bitten by flies. This is just the
Oh,
way that
wow.
it is. So same thing was happening to me with entities. So I was having difficulty with it, and so I intuited a resolution, and the resolution was this pendant. And so I I put it on, and it literally changed my life. All of the empathic issues of picking up other people's energies went away. The entities stayed away. I felt more confident and maintaining higher frequency. I was able to go much higher in frequency. The pendant actually quantum processes for you. So you don't need to be, I guess when you get triggered, for example, you get triggered, you don't need to say, oh, I'm triggered now, I got to deal with this. No, you don't deal with it. The pendant assists you, because you're always in the quantum field, because the pendant grounds you and brings you into your body automatically. So you don't need to keep practicing putting yourself into your body anymore. The pendant is already doing that for you. So it's literally been life altering for me. But then I shared it with my clients and students, and it's happening for them just the same. It's a game changer.
So are those crystals that are on the
They
pendant?
are. They
Okay.
are. So it's selenite as a base. So the base of it is
Uh-huh.
selenite. And then there's individual crystals here that assist with, actually, they all work in superposition of each other, which
Yeah.
means that they're all working as a team
Mhm.
in it with all sorts of possibilities that occur. So this is why the pendant, my students tell me, Joshua, it feels like the pendant knows what it needs to do, and it starts to do things when you need it. So if you get triggered, it knows it, and it starts to process it for you without you having an intention. Usually in healing and transformation, we say, I need to set an intention for that. But it already knows to do it. You don't have to set the intention. It already has the intention within it. So it's been life altering for me to use this, because dealing with the stuff I was dealing with was really, really rough. And now my life is much easier. But yes, it's all crystalline energy. But then I infuse the whole pendant with additional crystalline energy. And
Okay.
it's amazing.
Okay, so then they're not just for your students and you. I mean, it's lovely that you have them, but you're saying that people listening as well, if they want a pendant, there's a way that they can
Yes.
get these as
Yeah, on
well.
my
Okay.
website,
Hmm.
beingquantum.com, I have my pendants there as well. And also, I have purchased, I can't tell you how many pendants I've purchased, probably like 20 different pendants. I've tried them all.
Hmm.
And the issue that I found was most of the time when you put them on, they over energize you.
Hmm.
And then you just have to take it off, or sometimes they're not good for you but you think they're good for you, or sometimes they're good for you at first and then they stop being good for you. All of
Right.
these problems with pendants drove me crazy, so I stopped wearing pendants. So then I thought it was funny when I intuited this resolve here for myself, and it happened to be a pendant, and I said, wow, well, this one really works. It doesn't over energize you. You can see I'm wearing two of them, and it's not
Yeah.
over energizing me at all. It's actually helping me stay balanced and in alignment with the universe. So all the time, things are happening for me in really good ways without me even trying. It's been a blessing, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, it's amazing. It sounds like on your site as well, and I know because I've seen the site, that there's so much information that is available for us to learn more about quantum energy transformation, all of the beautiful things that you have discussed. And just to be clear as well, you do offer classes and you do have the book and you do have the movie we can all watch tonight, but you offer classes and you teach your techniques as well. So I wanted to hopefully, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows the links for all of this are going to be below. But could you also tell us about, because you have very generously offered a free gift to the listeners. And I know, if nothing else, everyone's curiosity is piqued at this point, Joshua. So could you tell us a bit about the free gift? And the link for that will be below as well.
Yes, and you can go to iqet.com/Yolanda.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you'll see that it's called Discover the Science of Quantum Manifestation. And what I did was I put together a an experience, really. An experience, when you listen to it, it's an experience of the possibilities of manifestation for health. And Dr. Bruce Lipton's on it, and Bernie Siegel's on it, and James Oshman's on it, and Donna Eden's on it. And so they're all sharing their insights about manifestation for healing and health. Because, if you don't have your health, regardless of whatever you manifest, if you
Right.
don't have your health, you don't have anything. So
Anything.
we wanted to start with that, and it's a really great gift. It's so awesome to experience it and to realize anything truly is possible.
That is a very generous gift. And again, I'm sure it's speaking and resonating with so many people because interestingly, because of again the times that we're in, I think a lot of people are now aware, focused, and care about the manifestation of well-being over a lot of the material things that we may have prioritized in the past. I think these last few years have shown us without a doubt, like, our health is absolutely has to be at the top. So I have to thank you
Yeah.
so much, Joshua, for even offering that for us. Again, I'll have the link down in the show description so that everyone can download that right away. There's just one last thing I wanted to ask you, and I hope we can, before we wrap it up. You you did mention empaths and intuitives, and you've pointed to the fact of how this work is really powerful for them. But I just want to put some emphasis on a lot of your work is so that, people with these sensitivities and that may be interested in this realm of work, no matter what type of healing they're doing or not, just everyday person, it doesn't matter if you are or not, but that we can harness these innate quantum powers. So I just wanted to ask you what that means for you, and I know you touched on how it's changed your life, but could you just leave us with that?
Absolutely. As an empath myself, there's a lot that comes with it. We are pulling in information that sometimes we don't even know where it's coming from. It could be coming from the spirit world, or something happens in the world. I remember many years ago, I intuited the planes going into the World Trade Center. And
Wow.
I don't, I know, and at that time, I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't understand, how could I intuit something like this? Um, it didn't make any sense to me at the time. Now I get it. But all of this stuff that we deal with kind of puts us at a deficit, not like having superpowers. It's kind of the opposite when you're an empath. So my goal is to help empaths, intuitives, and energy workers to be able to get into a place where they no longer have the deficit, and instead they can just shine with their superpowers. Because when you're focused on always healing yourself, always fixing the problem that shows up next, always dealing with the stuff that empaths deal with, overwhelm and bringing in this information or picking up someone else's energy, all these things that empaths do, if you're focusing always on those things, we have no time in our day or night or whatever to actually help ourselves or help others. So if those things were to vanish and you didn't have those issues at all, now what would be possible for you then? And that's what I do with my clients.
That is beautiful. Listen, Joshua, I wish we had a whole nother hour to just talk about all of your work. I mean, it really is amazing and it is so resonant with me. I've been practicing energy work since around 2010, 2011. So a lot of what you shared really resonates and hits home. And I'm sure the same is true for those listening. So I just want to just make sure again, everyone is very clear that working with you, they can learn about quantum energy transformation. We're going to read the book, watch the movie. The ultimate answer is inside by Joshua Bloom. And we can go to beingquantum.com. We can get all of the information about your work, the beautiful pendants. We can also use the link below to access the free gift, discover the science of quantum manifestation. It's just beautiful. So I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing with us today, Joshua.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be in your energy and your in a connection with you. I feel like we jumped into the quantum field together and we came
Yeah.
out in a whole new way. So I'm really excited. Thank you.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, my love. And for everyone else, we will see you soon. Check all the links below. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Okay, beautiful alchemist. I just want to give a huge thank you to Joshua again for coming to share with us today on the podcast. You know, I love the way we have these opportunities to learn and grow in exchange. If you would like to learn more about Joshua and his work, be sure to go to his website, beingquantum.com. And don't forget about his free offer, Discover the Science of Quantum Manifestation. The link to download that is down in the show description as well. And don't forget that you can now watch the Reiki Radio interviews as well as access some other tools of energetic alchemy and even join me for Reiki roundtable discussions on Tuesdays. They are live conversations because I want to talk to you about what comes up for you around the episodes as well as what's going on in your personal practice. So download the Energetic Alchemist app. You can get it in the Apple App Store, or if you have an Android, go to Google Play. Just type in the search, The Energetic Alchemist, and download the app. So I look forward to connecting with you all, and you can learn more about me and my work at theenergeticalchemist.com. Have a gorgeous, gorgeous day, and remember to always journey in love.